The drums begin before she sees the doors. 3 slow beats, then silence. The ancient signal that a trial of blood was to begin. A sound Anna had heard once in her life before, when she was 7 years old and a wolf from the southern marshes had tried to poison the old king. She had stood on her father's balcony and watched. She had not understood cruelty then the way she understood it now. She understands it now. The great hall of Valkheim stretches before her as the oak doors groan open. A cathedral of firelight and shadow, every torch bracket burning despite the afternoon sun that knifes through the high arrow-slit windows. Every pack within a week's hard ride has sent representatives. They line the walls like a tide of fur and iron, shoulders pressed together, breath misting in the cold air. Hundreds of eyes, all fixed on her. The ropes at her wrists are braided horsehair, rough against skin bruised from 3 days in the keep's stone-floored antechamber. She has not been permitted to change. Her dress, deep blue wool, once fitted to her figure with care, hangs loose now. One shoulder seam torn where a guard had caught her when she stumbled. Her hair has been left unbound. Another humiliation. Aluna came undone before her people with her hair unbound. She knows exactly what it signals, and exactly who decided it should signal it. She knows a great many things. Keep your chin up. Keep your chin up. Keep. She keeps her chin up. And then, at the end of that long hall of stone and fire and judgment, she sees him. David sits on the carved high seat the way storm clouds sit over the mountains, inevitable, immovable, pressing against the horizon with a weight that makes the air itself feel thinner. He is dressed for ceremony. A dark fur cloak across shoulders wide enough to carry the sky, silver catches glinting at his collar, his dark hair pushed back from his face. He has not shaved in perhaps 4 days. The stubble does something to the hard line of his jaw that Anna, even now, even in this moment, cannot help noticing. She has always noticed. She has always, despite everything, noticed him. His eyes find hers the moment she enters the hall. They are gray-black today, cold as deep fjord water in November, the color that has no warmth in it, no bottom. She has only seen them turn gold twice in the years of their marriage, once at their bonding ceremony when the pack magic surged between them and neither of them could pretend it wasn't real, and once, months later, on a winter night when he had reached for her in the dark and then pulled back as though burned. Not gold now. Not even close to gold. I loved you, she thinks, as the guards force her forward. I loved you, and you broke it like a branch over a knee. And somehow, I am still here, still surprised it hurts. The marble floor is ice against her bare feet. The crowd's whispers swell behind her. She catches fragments like splinters. Always jealous. Everyone knew it. Couldn't give him what Emma gave him. The cup was found in her chambers, they say. The guards bring her to her knees before the dais. The stone bites. She barely feels it. Anna. David's voice is what it has always been. Deep, unhurried, carrying across the hall without effort the way a war horn carries across water. It does not shake. Nothing about him shakes. You stand before your people, your king, and the witnesses of every allied pack, accused of the murder of Emma, daughter of Jarl Holtvar, consort of the Alpha King, and of the child she carried. The silence that follows is the loudest thing Anna has ever heard. The child. She had known Emma was with child. She had known it for weeks. Emma had come to her, frightened and alone, and Anna had told her to tell David, and she had thought that was a kindness, and she now stands in this hall and wonders if she was wrong about what kindness costs. She had not known, until this moment, until she reads it in the gray of David's eyes, in the way his jaw holds, that the child was gone, that it had been taken along with its mother. She looks up at him from her knees, she who has never knelt before him voluntarily in 4 years of marriage, and searches his face for something, for doubt, for the man she married, the one who had, for 1 winter before Emma, looked at her across the high table as though she were something worth keeping. She finds nothing but that flat, terrible gray. "How do you plead, Luna?" Anna opens her mouth, closes it, tastes copper on her tongue. She has bitten the inside of her cheek. An old habit, something she only does when she is frightened. She is frightened, but she is also innocent. And she has never, in 4 years of marriage to a man who stopped wanting her, in 4 years of cold beds and diplomatic dinners and public humiliations, told a single lie. She will not begin now. "Not guilty," she says. Her voice does not shake either. The hall erupts. 6 months earlier. The porridge has gone cold. Anna knows this without touching it. She has been sitting at the high table in the great hall for long enough to watch the steam stop rising from the bowl, long enough to watch the candles burn down 1/4 of an inch, long enough for 3 different servants to approach her with urgent questions, and 3 different urgent questions to be answered, while her husband's chair, the great carved oak seat at the head of the table, remains empty. She had prepared for this breakfast herself. She had been up before the kitchen fires were banked, had given the cook specific instructions. The thick rye bread David prefers, the honey from the southern hives, the smoked fish he will eat without complaint, even when he will complain about everything else. She had dressed with care, in the dark blue that is practical and the silver pin at her collar that is not, because she has learned that the details of effort matter even when, perhaps especially when, the effort goes unacknowledged. She had sent word at dawn, "Come to breakfast. I need to speak with you before the Bear Clan emissary arrives. It matters." That had been 2 hours ago. "My lady." Halvar appears at her shoulder, quiet as a shadow. He has been her personal guard since she was 9 years old, her father's steadiest man, assigned to walk behind her at feast days. He is 40 now, scarred along one cheekbone from a border skirmish, and he speaks to her in the voice he reserves for bad news delivered gently, low and careful and slightly too even. She has learned to read it like weather. "There is movement from the east wing." "How long?" "An hour, my lady, perhaps more." An hour. He had been with Emma for at least an hour while Anna sat here tending the kingdom. She touches the rim of her bowl, sets it aside. "Bring me the seating arrangements for tonight," she says. "And tell the head steward, I want the fires in the great hall banked higher. The Bear Clan runs warm, but their pride runs hotter, and a cold hall is an insult they remember for years." "My lady." Halvar hesitates. This is unusual for him. "Will you be going to the east wing?" Anna looks at him steadily. His face is a careful blank, which means he is trying very hard not to show her pity. She has always liked Halvar for his efforts, even when they fail. "I will," she says. "Bring the seating chart to my study by midday." She rises from the table with the practiced ease of a woman who has spent 4 years making everything she does look effortless. Her spine is straight. Her step is even, not too fast, not too slow. She is Luna of Valkheim, and the Luna does not hurry. The east wing smells like pine resin and wood smoke. It always has. David's private rooms have always carried the scent of the outdoors, even in deep winter, even when the shutters are bolted. She used to love that. She used to stand in the doorway of their shared chamber and breathe it in and feel something that she has long since stopped allowing herself to name. She hears Emma before she reaches the door. A high, bright laugh, genuine, unself-conscious, like water over stones. Anna has never been able to produce a laugh like that. Hers, when it comes, tends to surprise her, arrives at the wrong moment, in slightly the wrong key. She has been told she laughs too quietly. She has been told many things. She opens the door without knocking. It is her right. It is one of the few rights left to her. Emma is perched on the edge of the great work table, the same table where Anna had spent 100 evenings reviewing trade agreements and troop counts. She is wearing a man's linen shirt, David's. Anna recognizes the cut of the collar. Her golden hair is loose around her shoulders. She is holding a dried fig to David's lips, and David is watching her with an expression Anna has not seen on his face in 2 years. Not desire exactly, or not only desire. It is the look of a man who is comfortable, who is, in this moment, entirely without armor. He sees Anna. His face closes. The change happens so fast it makes her chest hurt, even now. Summer to stone, warm to cold, the way a fire goes out when you throw snow on it. "My Luna," he says, formal. Anna looks at Emma. Emma looks back at Anna and does not move from the table. "My Alpha," Anna says. "I need a moment of your time. It concerns tonight." "Tonight can wait." "It cannot." She keeps her voice level. Ragnvald of the Bear Clan arrives at dusk. His brother, their chieftain, has not come himself, and we have not yet determined why. If it is a slight, we need a strategy. If it is illness, we need to extend. "I'll hear it at the evening brief." He does not look at her. He reaches up and tucks a strand of Emma's hair back from her face, a gesture so habitual it is not even tender, just habitual, as though Anna were not standing 4 feet away. "You may go, Anna." Something tightens in her throat. She swallows it. "The evening brief will be too late," she says quietly. "Ragnvald will arrive before—" "I said," David says, and now he does look at her, and his eyes are the flat gray of something that has finished deciding. "You may go." Emma tilts her head and says nothing. She does not need to. Her silence is a kind of victory she wears the same way she wears his shirt, lightly, easily, as though it belonged to her from the beginning. Anna looks at them both for one moment. Then she nods, turns, and walks out. She does not let her pace change until she has rounded the first corner of the corridor and is alone. Then she stops, presses her palm flat against the cold stone wall. Breathes. "You are Luna of Valkheim," she tells herself. "You have an emissary arriving at dusk. You have a trade dispute that could bleed into a border war if handled badly. You have a kingdom that runs, in large part, because you have not stopped running it for a single day in 4 years. She breathes again, steadies. Then she goes back to work. Ragnvald of the Bear Clan is nothing like his brother. Anna knew Bjorn, the Bear Clan's chieftain, from her father's court, where he had come 3 times to negotiate fishing rights and once to drink for a week solid at a winter festival. He was a broad, affable man with a laugh you could hear from 2 halls away, the kind of man who made you feel, within the first 5 minutes of meeting him, that he had known you for years and was glad of it. Ragnvald arrives like weather. He is tall, taller than David, which is not common, with his brother's width of shoulder, but none of his warmth. His hair is the rust brown of autumn leaves, pulled back from a face that has been lived in. A broken nose reset crooked, a scar at the corner of his left eye, the kind of stillness in his expression that could mean composure or contempt, and requires time to distinguish between. He comes into the great hall with 6 of his warriors at his back, and stops in the middle of the floor, and looks around with the unhurried thoroughness of a man taking the measure of a fortress he might someday need to take. Then his gaze lands on Anna, standing at the foot of the high table, where she has positioned herself to receive him. Not on the dais, not seated, standing, level, as an equal, and something shifts in his expression, something she cannot read. "Luna of Valkheim," he says. His voice is deep and carries a mountain country accent, the vowels broad and deliberate. He inclines his head. "My brother sends his regrets. He is unwell." "We received that word," Anna says. "We are sorry to hear it. Please convey to Chieftain Bjorn that Valkheim wishes him a swift recovery." She meets his eyes. "We are glad you came in his place. Your clan's concerns are our concerns. We intend to listen carefully." Ragnvald holds her gaze a moment longer than politeness strictly requires. "Where is your Alpha King?" he asks. There is a beat. Then 2. "He will join us at the feast," Anna says. "I am glad to begin the preliminary discussions now, if it suits you. Or I can show you to your chambers first. You have ridden hard." "I have ridden harder." But the corner of his mouth moves, just slightly. "I would hear what Valkheim has to say for itself." Anna almost smiles. She gestures to the chairs by the fire. Good, she thinks. We can work with this. She does not see David until the feast has already been going for an hour. He arrives late. She hears the shift in the hall's noise before she hears his footsteps, the way a crowd responds to a king, the way iron responds to a lodestone, the whole room tilting almost imperceptibly toward him, and he has Emma on his arm. Emma is wearing gold tonight. She is radiant and she knows it, and she carries the knowledge the way she carries everything, lightly, warmly, as though beauty were simply weather and she happened to be standing in the sun. The Bear Clan warriors notice. Of course they notice. Ragnvald, seated beside Anna, says nothing, but his eyes move from Emma to Anna and back again, with an expression that belongs to a man adding numbers in his head and not particularly liking what they total. Your Alpha's consort? He says quietly. His guest, Anna says. Her voice is perfectly pleasant. Ragnvald makes a sound that is not quite a word. Yes, Anna thinks. I know. Across the hall, David settles Emma into the seat to his right, the seat that, by protocol, should be reserved for the wife of the most honored foreign guest, and does not look at Anna. Anna lifts her cup, drinks, sets it down, and moves on to the next conversation, the next obligation, the next small act of holding the kingdom together with her bare hands. The trouble with Emma is that she is not, by nature, cruel. Anna has thought about this a great deal, in the quiet hours, in the way she thinks about pack politics and weather, and the reliability of supply lines. Methodically, without sentiment, following the logic wherever it leads. Emma laughs too much to be truly scheming. She is 20 years old, and she loves David with the whole, unguarded, catastrophic love of someone who has never been hurt badly enough to learn caution. That is not wickedness. That is simply inexperience. It is Freya who is cruel. Freya is Emma's closest companion, her cousin, in fact, a jarl's niece with ambitions that wear Emma's face. Where Emma is sunshine, Freya is the frost that follows it. She is quick-tongued and quick-eyed, and she has appointed herself, without any official standing whatsoever, as Emma's champion and Anna's enemy. 3 days after the feast, Anna is returning from the stables when she hears them in the herb garden. She stops because Halvar's hand lands on her sleeve. The faintest touch, just fingers, the signal they developed years ago. Listen first. She smiled at him all through the saltfish course, Freya is saying. I watched her. She wasn't even subtle. Freya. Emma's voice, tired. Ragnvald is a guest. He's a man who is here for 2 weeks. He's young and powerful, and he watches her like... He watches her because she is the one discussing treaties with him. That is her position, Freya. You're very forgiving. I'm not forgiving anything. There is nothing to forgive. Then, David loves me. I know that. Anna stands very still in the shadow of the stable wall. The morning smells of horse and early frost and the lavender that grows along the garden border in stubborn, unkillable rows. David loves me, said with such simple certainty. Said the way you state a fact. The sun rises, the tide turns, David loves me. Anna thinks, I do not doubt you. She also thinks, he showed me the same thing once. Not in words. David has never been a man of words. But in the way he used to come and stand behind me when I was reading, and rest his hand on my shoulder and not move it for a long time. In the way he brought me a heated stone for my feet in the coldest part of winter without being asked. In the way his eyes went gold the night of our bonding, and he looked at me as though the magic had simply confirmed what he already knew. And then the distance crept in, the way cold creeps into old buildings, through every gap, unhurried, filling the space between them with something that was not hatred but was perhaps loneliness. And loneliness, she has learned, is its own kind of cold. She had worked harder, managed the pack better, sat longer at the planning table. Thought, I will make myself indispensable. I will be so useful to him that he will not be able to look away. She had not understood, not for a long time, that usefulness was precisely the wrong currency, that what he needed from a partner was warmth, softness, someone to lay down his armor with, not another set of capable hands. She understands now. Too late to change it. Perhaps too late for anything at all. She makes a small sound, just enough of one that Freya and Emma hear her approach before she rounds the corner. Both of them turn. Emma's expression moves through several things quickly and settles on carefully neutral. Freya's settles on something that is the social equivalent of a drawn blade. My Lady Luna. Freya's smile is a weapon with a handle carved to fit her hand. You're up early. I'm up at the usual time, Anna says pleasantly. I don't believe I've disturbed your walk. She looks at Emma. Emma, how are you feeling? I heard you were unwell last evening. Emma blinks. The careful neutrality cracks just slightly. She had perhaps been expecting aggression, not courtesy. Better, my lady, thank you. Good. Anna smiles at them both, equally, pleasantly, and walks past. She keeps her pace even until she is clear of the garden. Then she slows, lets herself feel it, the strange sadness that is not grief and not jealousy and not entirely anger, but contains all three, the way winter contains every weather that came before. I don't blame her, she thinks. She means Emma. She is not entirely certain she means David. He is already there when Anna arrives for her morning run. She does not ordinarily use the main practice yard. That is David's domain. His morning ritual with his war leaders, steel and sweat, and the language of men who have earned their authority with their bodies. She has her own path, the back passage to the lower courtyard, 3 times around the stone circuit that follows the outer wall, finished before the fortress is fully awake. But the lower courtyard gate is blocked this morning by a delivery of timber, and the porter tells her apologetically that it will be an hour at least. And so Anna is standing in the threshold of the main practice yard at dawn, debating. Ragnvald is there, alone or nearly. 2 of his warriors stand at the yard's edge, arms folded, watching without particular investment. He has been running through forms with a practice sword, the long, fluid sequences Anna recognizes as a northern mountain style, all economy and weight, designed for opponents who hit like falling rocks. He stops when he sees her, straightens. Luna. He is breathing hard. His shirt is damp at the collar, hair pulled back roughly. He looks, in the gray early light, considerably more human than he did in the feast hall. Like a man, simply, and not an emissary. I apologize for the intrusion, Anna says. My usual route is blocked. I'll find another. Stay. He says it like an invitation, not a command. Then, as though aware of the possible interpretation, my men have been complaining I've been working them too hard. Your presence will keep me honest. Anna considers this, considers him. She stays. She runs her circuits while he continues his forms, and there is an unexpected comfort in the parallel solitude. 2 people in the same space, each doing their own work, not requiring anything of the other. The courtyard smells of frost and cold stone, and the faint smoke from the kitchen fires beginning to rise on the far side of the fortress wall. Her breath clouds in the air before her. Her feet know the circuit by now. Every uneven stone, every place where the wall juts, and she has to take a half step left. She has run it 100 mornings. She has never run it with someone else in the yard. It is different, she finds, without being worse. After her 3rd circuit, she stops to breathe, and Ragnvald lowers his sword and says, without preamble, My brother is dying. Anna goes still. Not quickly, he says. His voice carries no particular inflection, the way a man speaks when he has had time to build walls around the fact. A lung sickness. He has perhaps a year. He wanted to come himself, to finish the trade agreements, to see the business handled properly before. He stops, starts again. He trusts you. He is generous to say so. He trusts you, Ragnvald says again, with an emphasis that makes clear he does not mean David. He has said so for years, that the Alpha King of Valkheim has a Luna who understands that strength is not always the loudest voice in the room. Something moves in Anna's chest. She does not let it reach her face. Your brother is very kind, she says carefully. Ragnvald looks at her for a long moment. His broken nose catches the early light. His eyes are brown, deep brown, steady as old wood. He also said, Ragnvald continues, slower now, that he worries. For you. Bjorn should save his worry for his own recovery. Perhaps. He tilts his head slightly. But he is not wrong to have it. The silence between them shifts, edges where there were none before. Anna meets his gaze and holds it and says, The trade agreements can be finished in 2 weeks if we work efficiently. I'd like to have something signed before you leave, for Bjorn's peace of mind. Ragnvald accepts the redirection. He nods slowly. For Bjorn's peace of mind, he agrees. He picks up his sword again, returns to his forms. Anna runs another circuit. She does not think about what Bjorn worries about. She does not let herself. But she carries the warmth of it, the strange, unexpected warmth of being worried over, for the rest of the morning, like a stone held in a closed fist. The great hall is loud and bright and smells of roasted boar and mead and wet wool from 20 cloaks hung by the fire. Anna stands near the high table and watches the room with the particular attention she has spent 4 years developing, taking everything in, noting everything, filing everything away where it might someday be useful. Ragnvald finds her. He does it, she has noticed, without making it look deliberate. He simply arrives in the same part of the room and begins talking about something adjacent and inconsequential until the conversation becomes something real. The bear clan trains its leaders differently from the wolf packs. Less bluster, more patience. Your steward, he says, appearing at her shoulder, has an interesting theory about the grain surplus. He has many interesting theories, Anna says. Most of them are correct. He'll be gratified to know you were paying attention. I pay attention to everything when I'm in a foreign hall. He accepts a cup from a passing servant, examines it, drinks. It helps me stay alive. Is Valkheim that dangerous? Every fortress is dangerous when you don't know which smiles are real. Anna looks at him sidelong. Most of the smiles tonight are real, she says, mine included. He looks at her directly then, the way he does sometimes, a weight to it. Yes, he says after a moment. I know. From across the hall, she feels the shift in the air, the particular pressure that means David is watching. She has always been able to feel his gaze, even now, even when it carries no warmth. She does not turn to look. You're good at this, Ragnvald says, and he does not mean the diplomatic conversation. I've had practice, Anna says. He says nothing to that, but she feels him understand it, the way you understand things that are said quietly in crowded rooms. The moon rises outside the high windows. The hall grows warmer with bodies and mead and the cautious, provisional camaraderie of men from different packs who have been circling each other warily all evening and have now decided, with the help of enough good ale, to be friends for one night at least. Anna navigates it all, smoothing this moment, redirecting that one, making sure the right men sit near each other and the wrong ones stay apart. She is good at this. She knows she is good at this. She is almost entirely alone in knowing it. Near the end of the night, when the torches have burned low and even the most determined drinkers have begun to flag, David crosses the hall toward her for the first time all evening. He moves through the crowd the way he always does, people yielding without realizing they're yielding, bodies unconsciously opening a path. He is wearing the dark fur cloak. His eyes, in the firelight, are unreadable. She has spent 4 years learning to read them anyway. He stops beside her, close enough that she can smell him, pine and iron and something darker beneath, something that her wolf still responds to despite everything, a helpless biological fact she has come to accept with grim resignation. Her wolf remembers what the rest of her is trying to forget. Her wolf does not care about cold breakfasts or empty chairs or the particular cruelty of a man who looks through you in a room full of people. Her wolf simply knows its mate, even now. Even like this, she does not let it show. The bear clan seems satisfied, he says. They seem cautiously optimistic, Anna says, which is better than satisfied. Satisfied men stop paying attention. Something moves through his expression, not warmth exactly, more like the memory of warmth, like the heat that lingers in a stone after the fire has moved on. Ragnvald. He says the name without emphasis. He has been near you all evening. He has been conducting diplomatic discussions, Anna says, as was arranged. Has he? She turns to face him, fully, level. She is a tall woman, and in her heeled boots she has to look up perhaps 3 inches to meet his eyes, and she does it without flinching. Is there something you want to say to me, David? His jaw tightens. A muscle moves in it just once, the small tell she has catalogued over years. The thing his jaw does when he has something to say and has decided, for reasons she has never entirely understood, not to say it. She waits. He says nothing. Then I'll finish my evening, she says, and she walks away. She does not let herself feel the way the air changes behind her as she goes. The particular quality of his silence, which is never quite as empty as he intends it to be, which sounds, if she listens closely, less like indifference than like a man standing very still at the edge of something he does not know how to cross. It happens 3 days later. There is a hunting party, the routine kind David arranges in autumn to take boar from the forest 2 leagues south. The diplomatic value of including Ragnvald is obvious enough that even David, despite the stiff set of his shoulders when he agrees to it, cannot reasonably refuse. The 2 men have found, in the practice yard and at the feast table, a grudging functional courtesy, not friendship, but the truce of men who respect each other's competence while not particularly liking the circumstances that brought them together. Anna watches them leave from her window in the gray early morning, and then goes back to the documents spread across her study table. They return before dusk, which means something went wrong. She is in the corridor above the great hall when the doors open and the smell of blood rides the wind ahead of the party. She is moving before she has consciously decided to. Down the stairs, through the anteroom, into the entrance hall. It is not David. Ragnvald is being half carried by 2 of his own men, his left arm held carefully against his body, his face pale beneath the windburn and the cold. A boar tusk, one of his men explains to no one in particular, a lunge from the thicket on the left, and Ragnvald had been faster than most men would have been, but not quite fast enough. David stands a few feet away, arms folded, watching with an expression that reads as concern to anyone who does not know how to read him. Anna knows how to read him. What she reads is closer to guilt, the particular quality of guilt in a man who is not accustomed to admitting it. She crosses the floor. Let me see, she says to Ragnvald's men. They look at her, then look at David. David nods, once, and they step aside. Anna takes Ragnvald's arm with both hands and turns it carefully to the light. He goes very still, his breath coming controlled and deliberate, the way a man breathes when he is in significant pain and has decided not to honor it with sound. The gash is long, from below the elbow to nearly the wrist, ragged at the edges, already crusted dark at the top and bleeding freely at the bottom. This needs stitching, Anna says, and properly cleaned before it closes. Come with me. I have my own. I know you have healers in your party, she says calmly. They are very good, I'm sure. I am also good, and I am here, and I would rather not spend the next month negotiating trade agreements with a chieftain's brother who has lost the use of his left hand to a 3-day festering. She meets his eyes. Come. Something in his face shifts, something almost like amusement, though he is clearly in too much pain for it to land cleanly. As my lady commands, he says. She takes him to the small workroom behind the kitchens, her own space for herbal work, not the great healing chamber, which is always full and always supervised and always, somehow, David's. This room smells of dried lavender and pine resin and the sharp, particular bite of yarrow she keeps for exactly this kind of wound. A fire has been banked in the corner. There is a good lamp. There is quiet. Halvar takes his post in the doorway. He does not speak. He does not need to. Anna washes her hands, gets her tools, sits across the small work table from Ragnvald, and draws his arm toward her with both hands, and for a moment, just a moment, she is very aware of the size of his hands, the roughness of the skin across his knuckles, the weight of his arm resting in her palms. She focuses on the wound. She has been doing this since she was 12, since her father's pack healer decided that a Luna who cannot tend her own people has a gap in her armor that will eventually cost her. She is not a physician, but she is precise, and she is steady, and she does not flinch. She cleans the wound with yarrow water, working slowly and thoroughly, and he does not make a sound. She can feel the tension in his arm. Not the tension of weakness, but its opposite, the controlled stillness of a body managing itself through something it would rather not honor with acknowledgement. She has felt that quality of stillness before. She has spent 4 years producing it herself. The workroom is very quiet. Outside, the wind has begun to move through the pine trees at the edge of the courtyard, the low, almost musical sound that belongs to Valkheim's late autumn evenings. The sound she has fallen asleep to 100 times, that she associated once with safety, with home, before home became a complicated word. "You can be angry," she says conversationally, threading her needle. "It helps." Does it? Bjorn certainly thought so, though his vocabulary on those occasions was considerably more colorful than I think you'd manage. The corner of his mouth moves. "You've done this for Bjorn?" "Once. A fishing hook. He was embarrassingly dramatic about it." A short, genuine laugh escapes him, startled out by the image, she thinks, against his will. His whole face changes when he laughs. The carved stone quality of it opens up into something warmer, something younger. She has a sudden, clear impression of what he must have looked like as a boy, before whatever made him so careful made him that way. She keeps her hands steady and her eyes on her work. She notices. She files it away. The stitching takes 20 minutes. She works in near silence after the first few exchanges, focused entirely on the task, and he watches her face. She can feel it, a steady, attentive weight, and she does not look up. The fire pops and settles. The pine wind moves outside. She is aware, in a way she generally disciplines herself not to be, of how close they are. The small table between them, the lamp throwing its amber circle exactly over both of them, the warmth of his forearm beneath her fingers as she works. She finishes the last stitch, ties it off, reaches for the clean linen and presses it to the wound, holding it there with both hands, her fingers wrapped around the inside of his wrist. His pulse moves against her palm, steady, unhurried, warmer than she expected. She looks up. He is closer than he was. She does not know when that happened. The table between them is small, and at some point while she worked, he had leaned forward, and now his face is perhaps a foot from hers, and his eyes are doing that thing she has noticed before, that careful, measuring, entirely attentive thing, the look of a man reading something he wants to understand. "Anna," he says, quietly, the first time he has used her name without the title. "Don't," she says. Her voice is gentle, firm. He holds her gaze for a long moment. The fire pops softly in the corner. His pulse moves under her fingers, unhurried. Then he leans back. "All right," he says. She ties the linen, stands, carries her tools to the wash basin. Behind her, she hears him say, very quietly, "You deserve better than what you have here." Her hands go still over the basin. The water is cold. The room smells of yarrow and lavender and the faint metallic edge of his blood. Outside, the wind has picked up, pushing against the shutters. "Go rest," she says. "I'll have the cook send broth." She does not turn around until she hears him leave. She listens to his footsteps, heavier on the right than the left, favoring the injured arm, until they have faded down the corridor. Then she stands alone in the workroom, her hands still in the cold basin, and breathes. He comes to her chambers that same night. She is not sleeping. She almost never sleeps well anymore, lies awake with the lists of the kingdom running through her mind. The treaties and grain stores and patrol schedules and all the thousand small weights she carries as though they were stones in her pockets. She hears his footstep before his knock. She has always known his step. It is the sound of a large man moving quietly, deliberate, unhurried. The heel-to-toe rhythm of someone trained not to crash through the world even when the world is, technically, his to crash through. He knocks twice. It is, technically, her right to refuse. He has always knocked. She has never been entirely sure whether this is courtesy or habit, and she has stopped trying to distinguish. "Come in," she says. He enters her room for the first time in 8 months and stops just past the threshold. The lamp is low. He is still in his hunting clothes. She does not think he has changed since the party returned, and there is a streak of dried mud along his jaw that he has missed. In the low amber light, with the mud and the travel-stained clothes and the tiredness that sits behind his eyes, he is simply a man standing in a woman's doorway. Not a king, not an alpha, not the complicated half-stranger she has spent 4 years loving and resenting in equal measure. Just a man, looking at her as though he is not entirely sure what he came here to say. His eyes are gray, not the cold fjord gray of the trial, something more like dusk, the gray of a sky that is not yet dark, that has not yet decided what it intends to become. "How is he asks, meaning Ragnvald. "He'll keep the arm," she says, "and the use of it, if he doesn't do anything foolish for a week." David nods. He looks at the fire, then back at her. "I should have brought him to you immediately." "You did bring him to me." "Not immediately." His jaw tightens. "I waited until the hall. You had to come to him yourself." Anna folds the document in her lap and sets it aside. She says nothing. She waits. He crosses the room, which surprises her. He does not often cross rooms toward her, has spent years crossing rooms away from her, or standing in them at the particular studied distance of a man who has decided that nearness is a complication he cannot afford. Now he stops a few feet away and stands there with his hands at his sides and his face doing the thing it does when he is working out what he means to say. That concentrated inward look, like a man translating from a language he learned very late and has never quite made natural. His chest rises and falls with a breath he seems to take deliberately. He smells of pine and leather and the cold air of the pine forest, and beneath that, the particular warm iron scent that is simply him, that her wolf has recognized since the night of their bonding and has never entirely stopped responding to, despite 4 years of evidence that she should learn indifference. She does not step back. She lets him be near. She is so tired of doing the opposite. "You're good at your work," he says finally. "Better than anyone I've had the bad sense to take for granted." It is not an apology. He does not apologize. Not directly, not in words, not ever. But it is the closest he comes, and she knows it for what it is, the same way she has learned to know everything about him, slowly, through careful attention, at considerable cost. She says, "I know you're not happy." He blinks. She thinks she has surprised him. "I know," she says again, more quietly, "that this marriage was our father's arrangement, not ours, and that it has never been what either of us needed it to be. I have tried." She pauses, measures. "I want you to know that I have tried." He looks at her for a long time. The firelight moves across his face. She thinks, with a tiredness that is not quite sadness, that he is genuinely beautiful. Not in a way she has ever needed to say aloud, since beauty like his announces itself. But she has always been aware of it, the way you are aware of something large and close, as a kind of constant, unavoidable gravity. "I know," he says. His voice is rough. "I know you have." Something passes between them, one of those moments that are like the pause before thunder, where everything is very still and very loud at the same time, where what is unsaid takes up more room than the walls. Then he steps back. The Alpha King reassembles himself in front of her, the careful distance clicking back into place like a bolt sliding home, and he says, "Good night, Anna." "Good night, David." He goes. She sits in the window seat for a long time after, in the quiet and the lamplight, and does not know what to call the thing happening in her chest. It is not hope exactly. She gave up hope some time ago. But it is something adjacent to it, something warm and careful and fragile in the way of things that have been buried and are beginning, slowly, tentatively, to push toward light. Something she does not yet let herself examine too closely. The kingdom has its rhythms, and Anna learns to read them the way she reads weather, in small signs, in the quality of silences, in what people don't say. She notices in the last days of October that Emma is tired. This is not on the surface unusual. Emma has always kept late hours. The parties that start after the hall quiets, the laughter that echoes through the east wing past midnight. But the tiredness Anna notices is different from the tiredness of late nights. It lives behind Emma's eyes. It does not come and go. It stays. Freya has noticed too. Anna watches the way Freya watches Emma, with something that is not quite protectiveness and not quite fear, something that wants very badly to be kept private. Anna does not pry. She manages the kingdom. She works through the trade agreements with Ragnvald, who proves to be unexpectedly good at detail work, thorough, patient, willing to sit with a document for 3 hours and emerge with every ambiguity resolved. They have developed in the past 3 weeks a working rhythm that is something close to ease. He no longer uses her title when they are alone. She has stopped being surprised by it and has started, quietly, to value it. It is during one of these working sessions, mid-morning, documents spread across the study table, Halvar at the door, that Emma appears. She does not knock. She opens the door, sees Anna and Ragnvald bent over a map, and for a moment her face does something complicated. Then it smooths into something careful and very still. "I'm sorry," she says. "I didn't realize." "You're not interrupting," Anna says. She means it. She gestures to the third chair. "Come in." Emma hesitates. Then, slowly, she comes in and sits, folding her hands in her lap, and Anna, watching her from across the table, thinks. She is frightened, not of Anna, not of Ragnvald, of something that lives inside herself. "I wanted to speak with you," Emma says. Her voice is careful in a way it never is. "When you have a moment, I need your counsel." Anna closes the document she is holding. "Ragnvald," she says. "Of course." He rises without being asked and takes his cup to the window seat in the far corner, the particular self-effacing tact of a man who has spent a lifetime in courts and knows when to become invisible. Anna looks at Emma. Emma looks at the table. Her hands are very still. When she looks up, her eyes are bright with the particular brightness of someone who has been holding something very heavy for a very long time. "I am with child," she says. The study is quiet. Outside, the wind pushes against the shutters. Anna says, very gently, "How long have you known?" 6 weeks. Emma's voice drops to something barely above breath. "I have told no one, not Freya, I have not told David." "Why are you telling me?" Emma looks at her, and there is something in her face, in this moment, that strips away all the gold dresses and the easy laughter and the youth. Something ancient and frightened and entirely alone. "Because I do not know what he will do," she says. "And you know him better than anyone, and she stops. "I have not been kind to you. I know that." Anna is quiet for a moment. Then she says, "What do you want, Emma?" The younger woman blinks. Perhaps she expected judgment. Perhaps cold pragmatism. Not this question, asked with this particular gentleness. "I want..." Her voice breaks. She steadies it. "I want him to be glad." Anna thinks of the mud-streaked jaw in her doorway, the rough voice. "I know you have." She thinks of 4 years of cold mornings and empty chairs and working harder than anyone has ever noticed. She thinks, this is the moment. This is what it turns on. "Tell him," she says. "Today, if you can. Don't wait. She pauses. He will be glad. She does not know with certainty that this is true. But she says it because Emma is frightened, and because the child is not to blame for any of it, and because Aluna's true work, the work beneath all the diplomacy and the trade agreements, is to tend to what is tender in the people under her care. Even this, even now. Ragnvald, at the window, says nothing. But Anna feels his gaze on the side of her face, steady as old wood, warm in a way she has learned not to lean into. After Emma leaves, the room is quiet for a long moment. That was, Ragnvald begins. Don't, Anna says. Not unkindly. He nods. They go back to work. The autumn festival is 3 days before the Bear Clan's departure. It is a bright, cold afternoon, the sky a hard, clear blue above the frost-silvered courtyard, the smell of wood smoke and roasting apples threading through the air. Anna has arranged it all. The tables, the baking and brewing, the pine boughs over every archway, the seating, the order of proceedings. She has managed the 1,000 small elements that make a celebration feel effortless to everyone except the person who built it. She is standing near the center table, watching it come together, when she feels the change. Not a sound. A shift in the quality of the air. The way a crowd moves when it is suddenly pulling away from something instead of toward it. A held breath spreading outward like a ring on water. She hears Emma's name. She moves. The crowd has formed a rough circle near the far end of the courtyard. People part for Anna as she pushes through. They always part for her. 4 years has at least given her that. She pushes through, and then she stops. Emma is on the ground. She lies on her side, her golden hair spread across the frost-dusted stone, her face the color of birch bark. One hand still holds the silver drinking cup, the one Anna had personally selected for the feast's honored guests, etched with the Valkheim wolf. Ragnvald is already kneeling at her side, 2 fingers at her throat, his face closed and still and professional. Freya is standing over them both. Her face is not professional at all. It is the face of a woman who has already decided what she knows and is now simply announcing it to the world. You! Freya's voice cuts across the courtyard. Her finger points directly at Anna. You did this. You touched that cup. You spoke to the servants who poured the wine this morning. You! Anna's mind moves in several directions at once, cataloging, assessing, noting, and beneath all of it, cold and clear as fjord water. This is what ruin looks like when it arrives. She's been poisoned, Ragnvald says, low and urgent. He gathers Emma up carefully, one arm beneath her shoulders, and looks at Anna over Freya's shoulder. His brown eyes are steady. What do I do? The healing chamber, Anna says, entirely calm. Now, tell healer Marta I believe it is Nightshade. The symptoms match. Go. He goes. He does not hesitate, does not look to anyone else for permission. He simply rises with Emma in his arms and moves. It is only later, when Ragnvald has carried Emma inside and Anna has dispatched runners and sent for the senior healer and guided a shrieking Freya into the care of 2 steady-handed serving women. Only then, standing alone in the corridor outside the healing chamber, does Anna allow herself to stop moving. Halvar appears at her elbow. The cup has been secured, he says quietly. I took it before anyone else could touch it. I have 2 men watching it. Good. She closes her eyes, opens them. Who was near it before Emma drank? Several kitchen servants, Freya herself at the table. And you, my lady, when you checked the arrangements this morning. I know. Halvar says nothing. Then, David has been told. She bears his footsteps before the door opens. She has always known his step. But this step is different, harder, faster. The sound of a man moving through the world as though the world is in his way. When the healing chamber door swings open and David fills the frame, the man who enters the corridor is not the man from her doorway 7 nights ago. This man has gold in his eyes, not the warm gold, not the bonding night gold, the hunting gold, the gold that has no word for mercy in it. Anna stands very still. Where is she? He says. Inside. Marta is with her. She is alive, David. Where were you? It is not a question. It is a verdict that has already been returned. I was at the center table. I checked the cups this morning during the setup. The routine check I do at every feast, as you know, as I have always. Where were you? David. She steps toward him. She makes herself do it. Steps toward the cold, the gold, the judgment. Because she will not flinch. She has never flinched from him. Look at me. Look at my face. You know me. Whatever Freya told you, you know me. For one fractured second, something moves in his face. The gold wavers. She sees him, the man beneath the alpha, beneath the king, the man who stood in her doorway and said, "I know you have," in a rough voice that had cost him something real. Then Freya's voice comes from somewhere behind him. "The cup, my lord. She chose it herself this morning. I saw her." The gold steadies. "Take her," David says. Anna does not fight. She keeps her eyes on his face until the last possible moment, until the guards have turned her and the corridor is behind her and he is no longer visible, until there is only the sound of her own steady footsteps and the cold air of the keep. She does not cry. She is very cold. And somewhere beneath the cold, beneath the shock and the betrayal and the terrible beginning of the long work of survival, there is a small, quiet voice that says, "He will come to his senses." That says, "He is frightened and grief-blinded, and you know him better than he knows himself." That says, "This is not the end." She holds on to it. She walks forward. The trial is set for 3 days hence. Anna has been given a room in the North Tower. She notes, as she takes it in, that it is not a dungeon. Someone, some part of the castle's machinery of justice, or perhaps simply a servant who remembers what she is, has remembered that she is still Luna until a verdict is rendered. The room is locked, but it has a window, a fire, a pallet with 2 good blankets. Someone has left bread and a small lamp. Small mercies, she thinks. She has learned to count small mercies. She stands at the window and watches the fjord. The water is gray tonight. November gray. The color of David's eyes when he is simply himself, when the gold is not in them, when he is a man sitting in his own skin without the armor of the Alpha and the King. The color she has spent 4 years learning to read. He will come to her before the trial. She is nearly certain of this. Not to release her. Not yet. Not while Emma lies pale and unmoving in the healing chamber, and Freya's certainty has settled over the fortress like first frost. But he will come, because he is not, beneath everything, a man who is comfortable with injustice, because he cannot, in the end, look away from the truth when it becomes plain enough. She knows this about him, the way she knows the grain of the stone in these walls, the way she knows which corridor catches the east wind, through 4 years of paying attention when no one was paying attention to her. And the truth will come. It always does. She thinks of Ragnvald, of the brown steadiness of his eyes over Freya's shoulder. What do I do? He had not hesitated. He had done exactly what she asked, without question, without looking to David for permission. She has, perhaps, made an ally there, a real one, the kind built from action rather than diplomacy. Bear clan testimony carries weight in the courts of the northern kingdoms. His word and Halvar's secured cup, and the truth of what the poison was and where it truly came from. These are things that do not bend. She thinks of Halvar, of the way he had appeared at her shoulder in the corridor, quiet as a shadow, with the news that the cup was secured before anyone else had touched it. 30 years of service in her family, the specific, iron-quiet loyalty of a man who does not need to be told what to do, because he has always already understood what the moment requires. She thinks, I have more allies than they know. I have been making them, quietly, for 4 years while everyone was watching Emma. She has been building things all this time that no one thought to dismantle, because no one thought to look. She thinks of Bjorn, dying slowly in the mountain fortress. who trusted her, who sent his brother here with careful words about strength not always being the loudest voice in the room. And those careful words were, she understands now, a gift. A way of saying I see you across the distance of kingdoms and politics and all the things that make it difficult for powerful people to say simple, true things. She thinks, I will not give him reason to stop trusting me. I will be exactly what he believed I was. She thinks of Emma, limp and golden on the courtyard stones. She thinks, I hope she lives. I hope the child lives. She means it entirely, without condition. Means it with the same completeness with which she has meant everything in her life when she finally commits to it. She thinks of David. She has been in love with him, has been in the long, difficult process of learning him the way you learn a complicated and half-legible text for 4 years. She does not know what to call what she feels now, in the locked room, in the dark, with 3 days until a trial that could end everything. It is not over. She does not believe things are simply over. Love does not switch off like a lamp. It goes underground. It waits. Whatever she felt for him is still in her somewhere, cold and quiet, waiting. She thinks of his face in the corridor, the gold wavering, the fracture of it, the 1 second where he had looked at her rather than through her. She thinks, that was not indifference. Whatever it was not indifference. He is frightened. He is wrong. He is going to have to reckon with both. Anna turns from the window. She sits by the small fire, pulls the blanket around her shoulders, takes the bread and eats it slowly, methodically, because she is going to need her strength. She is going to need all of it. Outside, the fjord fades from gray into black, and the stars come out one by one above the water. Cold and clear and entirely indifferent to the business of kingdoms, the way stars always are. Somewhere below her in the fortress, the kingdom continues. Fires kept, watches changed. The 1,000 small necessities of a people going about their living, carried forward on the momentum she has spent 4 years building. It will hold without her, for now. She built it to hold. She will hold too. This is not the end, the quiet voice says. This time, she believes it.